Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Nicole Sauce's Thought of the Walk, episode 23. I can count today. I can't always count. Sometimes I haven't looked in the morning about how many episodes we've done. I'm standing here by my aquaponics system, and I'm thinking about eating seasonally. We've got a nice tromboncino squash starting over there in the background, and lots of food coming on. I've got the tomato tunnels behind me, just all sorts of cool stuff. And it got me to thinking about one of the cool things about living on a homestead is that you end up on this seasonal lifestyle. And I did a podcast episode on my audio podcast, which is at livingfreeintennessee.com. It's usually about an hour long on Mondays, about witchiness and how witchy I am. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from that. People who are like, you finally understand. I have a number of pagans in my audience and also a number of Christians. And they all thought it was, kind of funny because we get looked at as different when we have a strong belief system or a strong faith in our ability to live the life we want to live, right? And that goes for people who are a deep Christian faith. They get looked at funny, as well as people who have chosen to be more pagan in their beliefs. It just kind of got me to thinking about the seasonality of it all. And we're inherently linked to nature. And when we think about nutrition and living seasonally and eating seasonally, that means we have a tendency in our culture, and this is a critique, to eat stuff out of season because we can. The modern food system's a miracle that can get us apples in the middle of winter from South America up here, right? We can have asparagus at the store at any time of year. And when I lived in Germany, May was when asparagus became ripe. And so in May, you would have these parties just all centered about asparagus. You'd go there and be like, all these asparagus dishes, because pretty much only 1 month out of the year is asparagus coming on like that. And it was like a big celebration of asparagus. Well, that's kind of how living on a homestead is too. When you're eating seasonally, you end up having a glut of fresh fruits at different times. We've already gotten through strawberry season here. We're just entering blueberry season. Blackberries are coming available. Tigger has decided to join us this morning to say hello. And you end up having fruits mostly in the spring, summer, and then into the fall, and then not at all in the winter unless you store them, right? That's eating seasonally. And in the winter time, you have a tendency to have more nuts and root vegetables and meat, because that's what's available in the winter. And if you think about what that does to our bodies, it's kind of an interesting thing, because you go through winter, and if you're eating mostly root vegetables and meat and those sorts of things, you're not getting as much vitamin density. You aren't. So, but you're getting a lot of good nutrition. I mean, you get vitamins in your meat, but you know what I mean, right? You're not getting those heavy doses of vitamin C unless you're drinking teas that you've saved. And then spring comes, and all of a sudden, all these fresh greens are popping up. And if you start gorging on that stuff, you end up doing a reset on your system in the spring. And then as you get into summer, you have all these high calorie fruits and that sort of thing. You start fattening up. And then you flow back into fall and winter, where you go back into a diet that is, sustaining you, but you're also working off some of that fat from the summer. And as we've stepped away from those things, we've started pairing things that shouldn't be paired. And we don't have that time of bulking up a bit and paring down again, right? Bulking up, paring down every year. Instead, a lot of what's been happening is we bulk up, bulk up, bulk up. And then the nutritional advice we're getting from the government is that we need to bulk up on carbs, high quality grains and carbs, while reducing our meat intake. And this has caused an interesting thing to happen. I grew up during the low fat craze of the 80s. And you can tell if you look at my butt. It was a low fat craze. And if you wanted to lose weight, what you did is, as long as you didn't have any fat, you were fine. Okay? And so that meant that the package of Twizzlers, which is fat free, and if you go look at a package of Twizzlers right now, you're going to see that it's fat free. That would be okay, but it wasn't okay to have a nice juicy hamburger patty. And what's happened since that time is that we've increasingly added sweeteners to our processed foods. things that shouldn't have sugar. Like if you go look at a package of tortillas and look at what's in there, you know what should be in a tortilla? Flour of some sort. Could be corn, could be flour, you know, like wheat flour, and oil and salt. If you go look at a package of tortillas, it's got high fructose corn syrup in it. How is that seasonal, right? How is that seasonal? And as that has happened, we've all gotten bigger. But when you're on a homestead, you can basically just eat seasonally most of the time. And then at this time of year, we're building up our winter pantry. So we can things, we dry things, we freeze things, whatever it is we're going to do to be ready for winter, to augment the meat and the root vegetables that are available then, so that we have vitamins, like good vitamins, with our food. And that means that we're more likely to have a nutritious lifestyle, a link to the soil, healthier gut bacteria, all of those things. And it's kind of fun in the summer. I've been thinking about doing a bit of a system reset on myself. And what has been holding me back is it's tomato season. So right now, for the next 8 weeks or so, tomatoes are coming on. I can make fresh salsas. I can have, one of my favorite things is a sliced tomato with salt and pepper on it, drizzled with a balsamic vinegar reduction, which means it takes out some of the bitters when you reduce it down and make it almost like a syrup consistency. And then fresh basil sprinkled on top of that. That makes lunch. It's one of my favorites. It's so good. Or tomato basil soup. I've got fresh basil. I've got garlic that's come out of the ground. I've got tomatoes, and I can make a fresh tomato basil soup. All of those things are coming on now. And the reset that has been suggested to me is one where I cut out everything except for meat and then slowly build things back in. And I think, you know, that sounds like a really good winter reset. That does not sound like a summer reset, because right now what I'm getting is all of the nutrients that the roots from my plants have drawn up from the earth, whatever's in the soil around me. If I keep the soil healthy, I keep myself healthier, right? And in this way, I can help nutritionally balance myself. Now, you know, full disclosure, I'm also under advisement of a doctor right now working on balancing some nutritional deficiencies that I have, including vitamin D. I've stopped making vitamin D. I'm not sure why, but it's a combination of gut health, culturing, and also I'm supplementing. And as I move forward, what I'm hoping will happen is I'll get my gut balanced again and then move forward. And I think my gut is imbalanced for a couple of reasons. One, I've eaten a lot of yuck over the years. Also, I used to drink a lot more alcohol than I do now, and that resets your gut a lot. And then I haven't been as purposeful about eating seasonally, even though I live like this on a homestead where I can eat seasonally the things that come off. So pretty much what's happened in the last 3 weeks is I've had a renewed focus on, don't go to the grocery store. So I'm not going to the grocery store in July, right, to buy stuff to augment. Don't go to the grocery store. Eat what's available. What that means right now is raw milk is coming off the goats. I've got vegetables coming on from the garden. I can buy at the farmer's market. That's seasonal food. I've got Whole Foods here. So don't go to the grocery store. Eat whole foods. Cut out the bad stuff. So cutting, you know, making sure I'm not having those cocktails every day or whatever. That's the hard part, guys. And then move forward with more ferments and those sorts of things. And that all puts me back into alignment with the earth around me. And then I can decide if I'm going to have a treat here or there. For example, I've been craving like milkshakes and ice cream and that sort of thing. And what I did instead is I made some homemade pudding with eggs from here and a little bit of sweetener, not very much, but raw milk, all of it. And that answered the craving in like, I had maybe half a cup of that stuff and it's gone. And if I had gone to the store and bought ice cream, I would have like gone to the store and bought ice cream, then gone back to the store and bought more ice cream, and then gone back to the store and bought more ice cream. So I'm also addressing it on the craving side. It's been really interesting to experience as I'm becoming more nutritionally balanced and my vitamins are coming back into alignment, that some of these weird cravings I've been having have gone away. Now I'm a little bit low in iron and I'm craving sweet stuff. That means I need more iron. So we bypassed my water softener for my cold water, so I get the iron from the water and then I'll decide if I need a supplement or not. That's kind of on the, I'm not super low in iron. I'm low in vitamin D. I'm supplementing that. I'm keeping up on the B. And then what's the other vitamin I'm low on? There's another one. I can't remember. It'll come back. Magnesium's good though. A lot of people are low in magnesium. You know why I'm not low in magnesium? I eat a lot of the stuff that grows in my lawn. Basically, I go into the woods and I eat a lot of plants that are coming off the land, and those are high in magnesium because they're leafy greens. It's kind of an interesting thing that happens. So, as you know, why am I sharing this? The reason I'm sharing this is if you're living in a situation where you're not on a homestead and it's harder to eat seasonally, you can still do it. Just think about what's in season and know where your food comes from. A lot of people go to farmers markets and then don't want to buy food there because it's so expensive. You know what's really expensive? Treating cancer. You know what else is expensive? Treating autoimmune disorders. That's expensive. The food at the farmer's market, if your farmers are truly growing food in a regenerative way, that costs money. And it costs more because they're charging you the actual money that it costs them to raise their food, right? To raise the food they're selling to you. They need to make money too. And that stuff, if you can go to the farm and see that it's not just a big old, like, nutrient deficient process, that's going to be better for you long term than if you buy the same seasonal stuff at the grocery store. However, if you don't have that option, start by eating seasonally at the grocery store and see how that makes you feel. The whole reason I'm passionate about this and the whole reason I got into this is when I was living in Portland, Oregon, I would buy at a store called New Seasons, and I was getting all organic, and I was a total food snob, and I gained weight. I didn't feel that good. And then I went on a trip to Europe, and I stayed at a friend's house in Germany, and every morning I'd get up and I'd walk. I'd go down to the market, and I'd buy whatever food I was going to eat for the day, cook it that evening, whatever. And by a week later, I felt great. My system was balanced, and I had lost about 12 to 15 pounds in a week. Well, that tells me two things. One, the weight was related to inflammation, and two, that food's better. And when I came back to the United States after that, I realized that our food system is not as good as what quality I'm getting just easily in Germany. And I started looking into why, and you look at how they farm in Germany, and they're actually building fertility back in the soil in many instances. Yes, they still have conventional farming, but they also have a lot of easy access to locally grown foods, and we end up linked with our environment. So basically, the upshot of this is try to find a way to reestablish your link if you can. See if you can eat seasonally, but do it in a way that's easy. Because the other thing is, if you try to overachieve on this, you're going to get nothing done. So it's better to start by eating seasonally, conventionally grown food from the grocery store, and then take the next step a year from now, than to try to get all relationships with all farmers and all that stuff under control, or try to grow your own food out of the chute. Now, if you are inclined to grow your own food, start with something, and you will get there step by step by step. But the easiest way to fail on this kind of a lifestyle is to go 100% all in, no compromises, and you're going to be exhausted, and you're going to be frustrated, and that's no fun either. So I encourage you to think about your nutrition, and if nothing else, start by cutting out anything that's processed. And if you make a list of what you eat every day, like every week, every month, and you have a list of 60 things that are processed, including that processed spaghetti sauce you get at the grocery store, the cheese you get at the grocery store, the tortillas that you get at the grocery store, the candy bars that you get at the grocery store, the ice cream, you see what I'm saying? You'll get a list of all that stuff, and rather than knock it all out at once, if you're not up for that, knock out one kind of thing. Start with desserts. All desserts that I'm going to eat, I'm going to make from ingredients at my house, and I'm going to make sure they're whole ingredients. I'm going to use pure cane sugar, right? For example. So just making that step's a big deal. Cut out the sodas, all of that stuff. I don't know why I'm up on my high horse today. It's probably because I took the week off to get a break, and I didn't get much of a break. And it's my fault, and I realized it's my fault. And in that, I realized a lot of things are our fault, and the things we think we can't control, we can. And the easiest thing to control is your food. And over time, if you enjoy the hobby of growing food, it's even easier to control. Guys, I hope you have a great, productive weekend, and I'll give you a full report on my Monday podcast about my reset week and what went wrong and what went right. With that, go out and make it a great week.